Welcome to the Charity Changemakers podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and action for the changemakers of the world. Each week, we dive deep into the world of impactful charities. We connect you with the passionate leaders, the innovative ideas, and the real-world stories that are making a difference. Whether you're a seasoned non-profit professional or just starting out, this podcast is your chance to learn from the best and get fired up to make a positive change. We'll explore the challenges and triumphs of running a successful charity. We'll hear about the fundraising strategies, impactful programs, and the stories of the people whose lives are being transformed. But most importantly, we'll leave you feeling empowered and equipped to take action in your community and the organisations in which you work. So, buckle up, Changemakers, because we're about to embark on a journey of inspiration and impact.
Today on the Charity Changemakers podcast, I'm joined by Paul Furbey, who's the Director of Income Generation at Barnabas Hospice, working across the whole of Lincolnshire. Paul shares with us some great insights into his route into not just the charity sector, but then also into fundraising and those factors across his career that have had a huge impact, from going abroad and being in Africa and India to the importance of people in his career and the opportunities that have come up, and also some time spent thinking about and exploring the importance of mentoring and coaching within his career and how that's helped him develop within the sector. There's loads of takeaways in this conversation, so let's not waste any more time and let's get on today and to meet our changemaker. Great, I'm really pleased to be joined by Paul today. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, no, great. Really, real pleasure to be with you today. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's good to have you here on the Charity Changemakers podcast. I think we've been connected on LinkedIn for a little while, and I don't think we haven't ever actually met face to face, have we? But I think you commented on something a few months back when I posted about Sheffield United, and realised that you were a fellow Blade.
Yes. Well, my dad always used to say, if you're a Sheffield United fan, you've gone through thin and thin supporting them. So there's, I think we've got that shared, I would say passion. I'm not sure that's the right word, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. Yeah, is it a passion piece or a stupidity? I don't know what it is. But your red and white stripes are going the wrong way today, anyway. So yeah,
some way.
Yeah, absolutely. But thanks for coming and joining me with the podcast. What we do is we start them all off with these quick fire questions. So I'm going to fire these at you. So Paul, tell me, what's the most interesting place that you've ever visited?
I feel like I've been to quite a few, but for the benefit of this, to keep it short, I'm going to go for Burundi. In 2005, my in-laws were working out there, so that was an amazing experience to go visit them.
Good. And what are you reading at the moment?
That's also, luckily, I'm not a massive reader because I'm dyslexic, so that's it's something that I've not always found that easy to do and for relaxing wise. But I've actually got a poetry book of Dylan Thomas poems that I was reading on holiday recently, which I'm not going to admit I understood all of them, but the book was great. Said at the beginning, if you don't understand it, just enjoy the ones that you do. So that's what I've been doing. It's been great.
Power on through them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's good. And final quick fire question: outside of work, what do you like to do to relax?
Well, we touched on the Blades, Sheffield United, big passion. Love to go and see them, even if they're not doing very well. And also walking in the Peak District. Really lucky. We live right on the edge of the Peak District here in Sheffield. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Love getting out there with my dog. So that's my quick and easy ways to relax, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We were up in the Peak District earlier this year on a family holiday. So we're down in Hampshire, as you know, and I think it was Easter Sunday. Took the kids out for a walk, and they were, obviously absolutely outraged that we were taking them out walking, and we were out in the Peak District, and it was so foggy. We could have been absolutely anywhere in the world because you couldn't really see beyond the end of their hand. And my daughter turned to me and said, "Why do we always go on holidays where we have to walk and it rains?" We're turning around to we're looking at warmer places to take them next time. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sounds like you have very similar children to myself. So.
Yes, absolutely. But that holiday was all planned around a Sheffield United game and making sure that we were in the right county at the right time.
That's the best way to plan holidays, I've heard. Unless it's playoff finals, but we won't touch on this.
No, we don't want to talk about those. No, ever again. So good. So, Paul, brilliant. It's great, like I say, to have you here. It was part of what we're doing as we're exploring and meeting with chief executives and directors within the sector is exploring with individuals about their route into the sector. I've only spoken to one person, I think, in the 5 years of recruitment who ever intended to work in the charity sector. So I'm always intrigued as to kind of where people started and how they found themselves working in the sector.
Yeah, I guess right back to my childhood, I think I have actually always had a bit of a passion about working in charity. As a kid, my parents used to do Christian aid envelopes and deliver those through the doors, and I always used to be part of that. And I think that kind of created awareness of poverty and people not living in disadvantaged circumstances. So as I went through school, I think I took subjects like sociology and things like that kind of got me more engaged with the world and thinking about society. I was really fortunate at the end of my A-levels to do a gap year in Africa with Oasis Trust, which was totally life-changing for me. I think I lived in a very middle-class bubble growing up and hadn't really experienced the world. And then all of a sudden I was in East Africa and just poverty was around me. And I think made me feel a real sense of how lucky I was and the situation that I'd grown up in, and really fired up about wanting to change the world. And I think when you're 18, you have a real sense that you're going to do it by yourself, and really went out there to want to do that. And yeah, just kind of, I think that really stayed with me for quite a long time. Went through university. My first job was as an antisocial behaviour officer for a housing association in London. And I absolutely hated that job. Anyone who's watching this who worked with me, I liked working with the people, but their job was really challenging and probably something a bit out of my comfort zone, really. And I think at the time I didn't really realise where that was taking me. But I think when you reflect back, you realise perhaps life takes you on a journey, and you're being kind of moulded and shaped to be this person. And I just think that what it helped me realise was that I can be quite resilient and I can be quite robust in certain situations. And we got married just before I started that job. And my wife, we've alluded to, her parents were in Burundi, and that's where she'd grown up as a child, part of her childhood. And I think we both had that passion to want to go abroad and to work there. So ended up going to India. We went out there for nearly 7.5 years over time, and just kind of slotted into that. And I don't really know. I don't think I really knew what my role was, but ended up, we worked in a project for women and children who'd been infected and affected by HIV and AIDS in India. And predominantly the role was to be house parents for the children there. And then they would all go off to school in the daytime, and then there was like office hours. And I was a bit like, I don't really know how I'm going to fill my time. And I just kind of got into fundraising through that, really, and just got that passion for, I thought, I can do this, and I enjoyed it, and it felt meaningful in my life, and I guess that's where it really started.
Yeah. Do you know the number of conversations that I have with people when they reflect back, and even very start there where you said about your parents with the Christian aid envelopes, and that that first I guess interaction with charity and seeing people using their time in that. I remember growing up in church and my mum getting everyone to collect stamps to be able to give those to the Baptist Missionary Society to raise funds. Actually that's my first inkling of charity. And then it's interesting that you then talk about that international flavour, Africa, India. So first sort of role within the charity sector, in India. Whereabouts in India were you?
So probably everyone's heard of Mumbai, and then we were in a kind of a hill station about 3 hours outside of Mumbai called Igatpuri, which no one will have ever heard of. And then for the first 3 years, and then we moved about an hour up the road to another city called Nasik, which, again, if anyone's heard about that,
Sure.
Get in touch, because I'd love to meet you, because not many people have been there. It's got a population of around 2.5 million people. We work there, working with kids in homes. So my wife's a counsellor. She works with kids now in Sheffield, doing counselling with them. And I just carried on the kind of comms and fundraising piece whilst I was out there. It was really varied and got a real broad breadth of experience. I wouldn't say it was particularly deep looking back at it, but just got that feel for grants and trusts, major donors, did some community fundraising, did some events work when we came back to the UK. A lot of it was just really just building relationships with people in India, but predominantly in England and the United States. So it had that real international flavour to it. So it was a really good foundation, I think, for me to kind of learn some core skills. I wouldn't say I was particularly good at them looking back, but it was a really good kind of apprenticeship for me in some respects. I got an opportunity to have a go at stuff, and if it was rubbish, it was because I didn't do a very good job, and I didn't really have anyone telling me, guiding me. Or whatever.
So were you in a team of people, or were you kind of solo fundraising?
In a team, but I was predominantly the fundraiser and the comms person. So it was kind of just learning on the job really for a long time, which I think has its pros and its cons. I look back now and I just think, well, I learned quite a lot myself, but probably it was the next stage of my career where you work with professional fundraisers and comms experts that you go, oh, okay, that's how you do it, and you learn to thrive more in that role, I think. So yeah,
absolutely. And as you reflect now on your time in India, because I mean, it's easy to say you went out to India for 7 years, but I mean, so you know, and particularly at the time when you were out there, I mean, massively different to life here in the UK. I mean, I went to India for my gap year for 9 months, say like 20 years ago, and I was like, you know, that had a life-changing impact on me without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I came back and told my parents I'm not going to go to university to do the course that I'm going to do. I want to do something. I want to do something that makes more of a difference, and that changed my outset. I mean, I can't imagine being there for 7 years because it's such a culture that's just so intense, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if people haven't been there, I totally recommend going there. I think before we went, someone said to us who'd lived there for 20 years, it's a real country of extremes. You've got the nicest smells and the worst smells, the most beautiful sights and the hardest sights, and people in abject poverty to some of the richest people in the world. And it is a real country of extremes. And I think at the heart of it are some really incredible people and friends that we'll have for life that are there. And what a real blessing for us to be out there and just have that experience. And at the same time was really hard as well, and got really homesick at times. And we left there we left to go to India with no kids, and came home various times for family visits and stuff. But we left 7.5 years later with 2 children as well. So we brought up my eldest son and my daughter till he was 3.5, and she was 18 months old before we came home. So we really experienced family life, and I think it's really grounded in us as a family as well. Like we reflect on it a lot as a family. I've got another son as well now who wasn't there, but we talk about it a lot, and it's really influenced, I think, our family culture as well as my own career and personality, and who I am today, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you obviously came back to the UK and working in the sector, what was sort of the next step of the career?
Yeah, well, I didn't really know when we first came back. I think we just felt like it was time to come home for various reasons. Parents were getting older. Our eldest son was ready to go to school, and I think we just got to a place where we felt like we didn't really have much more to give. And I think the other thing about it was a reflection that the longer we were there, the more like, were we actually a hindrance? Like, there's some really capable, amazing, intelligent people who are Indian who can do all the work that we could do, and actually were we just getting in the way for them to kind of actually do that work? So I think we'd gone on the journey through our time there, and then we came home. I came home to nothing really. We moved back to Sheffield because that's where family was, and there was somewhere we could come and stay. And it felt like a really long summer, but actually reflecting back on it, we arrived home at the end of May, and I got a job with Christian Aid within 3 months as a community fundraiser. Initially, it was looking after South Yorkshire, I think, in West Yorkshire. So the role, there was an office in Leeds, so I started going up there really, and got involved with that, and loved it. Just was a brilliant place. Staff were great. I felt really at home. They understood where I'd come from and the kind of work we're doing. It really tied into the work that we'd done in India. I felt like it was a continuation of that. That real sense of heart that I had for people. I think that's why I'm really rooted in the charity sector is charities that work with people and have people at the heart of it. and that sense of dignity and compassion and love and hope, and that's a lot of the values of Christian Aid, and I just felt really at home at that quite quickly. So it was an easy place to join initially.
Yeah, I just wonder about that transition from solo fundraising in India to coming and fundraising in South Yorkshire in a big organisation where there's lots of departments, lots of teams, lots of different people. I guess you were part of a team. How did you find that transition from solo to team fundraising?
I think I was incredibly naive to start with. I think again, I kind of went into it naively thinking I don't think I really appreciated how big an organisation it was and the layers of just. I don't know, like the framework and the compliance that it takes to run an organisation like that. So probably naive to start with, and probably thought I've done this at quite a big level, and then was a bit of a bring me back down to earth. But I think I probably needed that at that point, looking back on it, and it was good. I mean, it's a great organisation. I think you always know the measure of somewhere, don't you? I think when you walk in and you say to people, well, how long have you worked here? They go like 7 years. I've worked here 9 years. I've worked here 10 years. You go, people like it here. It's either really stale and people need to move on, or it's full of people who love it and it's a great organisation. And I think it's definitely the latter for me at Christian Aid. I think it was a great team to join, and it had experience, and they took me under their wing, and they kind of didn't mind my roughness around the edges in terms of my professional skills. They just accepted me for who I was, and I loved that. It was great.
And obviously gave you opportunities because you were there, a good number of years and moved through into a variety of different positions.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I think that's what was really good about the organisation. I think there was always opportunities to progress or try new things. So I started as a community fundraiser, did that for, I want to say about 2 years. And then opportunity came up to do some project management. And I got to work with a lady called Leanne, who was almost, I think probably the best way to describe it, because there's always quite strange job titles at Christian Aid, but kind of head of community fundraising would be kind of the easiest way to translate it. But she was really innovative and just brought into new ways of working and new ways of thinking and testing and this kind of test and learn model, and I'd never really come across that before, and it was exciting. And I got loads of opportunities. Christian Aid Week is massive. It's just a huge, from the outside it looks like it just flows really well, but it's a huge beast of a project, and there's different elements to it. And I was given the opportunity to project manage the Big Brekkie, which I always say it's basically just like a rip-off of Macmillan Coffee 1 in 3, but it was trying to get churches and community groups to do breakfasts together, and it was great because it was a really scalable project. You can do it as a little family, or we used to have I think we had 2,000 people cycling to Winchester Cathedral and all sharing breakfast together, and it was great, and it gave me real opportunity to work with agencies. So I worked with media agencies. We did radio ads, worked with Premier Christian Radio as well. We did some print ads and out-home ads as well. So was a bit of a baptism of fire. I think I definitely, again, I'd step into these things thinking, oh, I can do this. And then I learned loads really quickly, and gave me that opportunity to really understand what it was to work multi-agency, big projects, the pressure on you to really lead that and understand what project management skills really meant, and work across the organisation properly. I think you touched on it earlier, but you really get an idea once you step into that world of how to work across teams and to get their buy-in as well. So it was really exciting. And then my boss left, and the opportunity came up to manage the team. So I went for that. I actually went with a job share with a colleague called Joe, and that was great because we kind of supported one another to do that, and it allowed me to do some project management and get some line management experience. And then there was a restructure. I think they're kind of inevitable, if I'm honest. Those big organisations, I feel like that those wheels are always kind of moving a bit. And ended up managing a team for the last couple of years with another colleague, and was great. Just that was a real change. That team started in January 2020, and then we all went into lockdown and furlough with the rest 2.5 months later. So that was again another real for me, an opportunity to learn and grow and just work out how to manage people. We had a really big team. It was about 15, I think, altogether, and furloughing 15 people was a real range of experience in terms of talking to people, from people really upset and stressed to people kind of like, yeah, great, don't mind it, and just getting those people skills and that management experience was great, because at a big organisation you get to do that with lots of people, and I think that you learn how different people want to be managed in different ways. So you grow really quickly in that sense, I think.
Yeah. And I think within that bigger organisation, those opportunities obviously to progress within a career arise quite quickly. But obviously also it sounds like an organisation that's prepared to invest in its people and put that support around them.
I think so. And I think like probably two reflections on that really is one around, there was always the sense of wanting to, exactly what you said, invest in us, management courses for beginners, like intermediates and experienced managers, but always kind of giving me new skills. And I think that was something I really appreciated. And prior to me leaving Christian Aid, they invested in some coaching for me to help me, because I think I'd hit a point where it's a big organisation, and then once you get higher, the steps are really big, and I just think it's really difficult to go from that middle management into senior management in an organisation like that, because they're really big jobs, those. And I think they were really great. I had a brilliant boss who's now the director of Theos, actually, and she was brilliant. She just invested in some coaching for me to help me work out what that next step was. Yes. And I love it. I'm a massive advocate of coaching. If I could give everybody the resource to do that in our organisation, I would. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that something that you've continue with? I mean, obviously we'll get onto what you're doing now, but that, having that support of a coach, working with you.
Yeah, so I think that really helped me. That initial coaching was brilliant. I had 6 weeks. The coach was great. I kind of went in with a really clear, I think coaching works if you're really clear what you want out of it. But for me, it was kind of like, I just feel a bit stuck in my career and I don't know where I'm going, and I think I'm ready for the next step, but I don't know what that is. And that happened really quickly through that coaching experience, and she really gave me the confidence to say, you've got more skills than you realise, you've got more ability than you realise. I think she really picked me up at a point where I felt probably career-wise quite low, and gave me the confidence to do that. And actually that was my first experience of coaching, and I think it's been really important for me, because I think it's made me value it so much, and I've done a lot more since I've got the role that I have now. For about the last 18 months, I've been doing some coaching. It's great. It's kind of like, it's such a great space to kind of go and get somebody who's really neutral, doesn't know the people that you work with. It's a confidential space. You can just really unpick things personally about your work, and also the dynamics that you might have as well. So yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I think it's if you get the right person to work with, it can actually be really life changing, I think. So yeah,
absolutely. And it just totally unlocks potential, doesn't it? It gives you that time to self reflect and just think about how. Yeah, I've always found it helpful to be able to say, well, actually, I can look at this scenario from somebody else's point of view as well, and not just
you get a bit self-absorbed, can't you, when you're in work? I think like if you're kind of running on that day in day out kind of perspective. So yeah, I think just exactly that, just a reflective space to be able to kind of just almost take a step back. I remember when we lived in India, we used to live in this place, and it was kind of in a bowl of a valley. And quite often, me and my wife would take a walk, and we'd walk up the hill, and you could see down into the valley, and it was where we worked. And actually, when we were in that space, you couldn't think of anything else but the role and the job and the relationships. But then you came up and stood on that valley and looked down, and it kind of gave you a totally different perspective. You're like, I work in there, but it's not the world; it's a part of it. And it's weird. I've kind of taken that mentality into coaching, I think, in the same way. I think it just gives you that opportunity to be up that hill and look at your career in a different way and roles and stuff. So it's good.
Seeing that bigger picture, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So often, in the type of role that you're doing now and the roles that you've had, you can be so bogged down in detail at times that you've got to get up there. So look, okay. So time at Christian Aid, and then that move into so Director of Income Generation at St Barnabas Hospice in Lincoln. So yeah, talk us about through that transition.
Well, I think just trying to think how it all came about. Really, I think I saw the role on LinkedIn, and then actually a recruitment agent approached me actually and said, "Would you be interested in it?" I was a bit, if I'm totally honest, the thing that I was most nervous about was the travel. But once I've met Chris, who's my boss now, he's great, just been really good. I think COVID's just changed the world. I think the hybrid model of working, I hope it's here to stay. I think within the charity sector, I see it as a really key tool for us to recruit and to retain really good talent. I think the days of coming in every single day are probably gone. There's definitely a space for it, and I do love the face-to-face meetings, and I missed that through COVID. But having that conversation and knowing that was the direction of travel and it was going to stay like that I think that gave me the confidence to apply. So it's applied in February 2022, and started the role in April, and probably started with a sense of trepidation because I've never been in a senior leadership role, and I've now done it for 2 years. And again, I think like we've touched on, I think I've always, this time I didn't come in feeling confident. It's very much the sense of like, flying by the seat of my pants a bit to start with, and going, can I do this? But I think it's funny, we touched on football earlier. You hear about footballers talking about what makes a good manager. They take bits of managers that they've had, and I've definitely felt like that's what I've tried to do coming into this role is go, what are the good bits of managers that I've had in the past, and use my own personality and my own skill set, and use some of the things that I've learned to kind of try and make me the best director that I can be. And it's been great. I've loved it. It was a really steep learning curve, particularly that first year, being much more answerable to trustees, writing board papers, the compliance and risk management side of things. I knew about it, but I wasn't in the everyday of it. And it's been great, actually. Like, for some people, I think probably sounds a bit boring, but I do really enjoy that side of it. And I think you do have to be at this level. I don't think you can kind of wing it around those sides. It's really important to be able to kind of be over the regulation and that side of it, and have some sense that of enjoyment, even when it can be quite dry sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's that journey with the, obviously working with the team there in Lincoln, and growing and developing that team? What's that journey look like over the last couple of years? Because you said, obviously an organisation that was on the move and changing to this sort of hybrid model. I'd be intrigued to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, so now I look after, so it's not just fundraising. So I've got a head of fundraising, head of marketing and comms, and head of retail. And retail I knew nothing about. I came in, and Caroline, who's our head of retail, is brilliant and has been here for good 10 years and is fantastic in the role. And I think I'm quite an open and transparent person. So we had a conversation really early on, and I just said, look, I am going to be learning from you on this one a little for the first year, and it's been great. And I think that open communication and dialogue has been really key, and I think that's I feel like that's worked really well. I think that's who I am as a person anyway. I'm quite a transparent and open person. It's funny, you talk about leadership. I think there's lots of different types of leadership style, and I think like I'm not a massively charismatic leader. I don't think that's my style at all. But I think it's more about kind of coming alongside people and learning and growing together. And I've really enjoyed that. I think we've got a really nice. I've got a really nice team now that I work with. I really trust them. I think they're really competent and they're really good, but they're just really nice people as well. And we get on, and I think that dynamic works really well. I've also got a really great fellow executive team, and we all get on really well. And actually, don't know if I should say this, but we have quite a laugh actually every Monday at our executive meetings. That we take the mick out of each other and stuff like that. And when we need to, we can really get down to business and do what we need to do. But it's fun, and I think that's something that I've really enjoyed about this role. That a lot of I've not been bored. I found it fun. I've learned. I'm probably what comes through from this conversation is I'm quite into learning and developing. Like, I think if I sit around for too long, I can get a bit bored, and it's not necessarily like changing jobs or places, but I'm always wanting to learn new skills, and that's what energizes me, and I think that's what comes through with the team that I'm working at the moment. I think so. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you never need to apologise for having fun at work. I think that's really important. And I think actually, organisations that thrive are the ones that have got that close knit senior leadership team, that close relationship with the board as well, who are obviously so vital, as well as being able to obviously work and to lead their teams into the variety of different places and things that they've got to do, particularly with in your role where you've got that breadth of retail, fundraising, comms. There's a lot in there to hold together in an organisation so active in the local community.
Yeah, it's broad, and Lincolnshire's a big space as well. So we work right across the county. We've got wellbeing hubs in 4 different locations. We've got an 11-bed inpatient unit in Lincoln and a 6-bed inpatient unit within Grantham Hospital as well. I love the job. I think we get to serve, is how I see it, 12,000 patients and their families across Lincolnshire at a time when they really need us. People want compassionate and dignified deaths, and I think that that's what we are here for, and this is what we're here to fund. And I love being able to do that. I think we have a culture that really struggles with talking about death. It's funny, having lived in India, they're really comfortable about it, and it's completely, that is a cultural difference that I see. And a lot of the work that we do is kind of, it can bring joy at the end of people's lives, and I think we're really lucky to be able to do that. And I think some of the work that we're doing at the moment, especially the in-memory work, is really moving, and it really brings families together again and allows them to reconnect and to grieve, whether that's for someone who's died in the last week or whether it's to remember someone and maybe touch in on those emotions again a year or 2 later. And it's a real privilege to be part of that, I think. And I think the team are great at it. They're really sensitive to meeting people's needs and raising money, but doing it in a really dignified way. And I think that's at the core of everything we do. So it's great, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, a real privilege to be able to be a part of that, and powerful stories that can be used for that income generation, which of course is so important to the whole hospice sector and to the whole of the charity sector. I mean, in the 2 years that you've been there, has there been new ways of creating income, or new creative programs, or innovative new ideas that you brought into the organisation or you've seen introduced?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Have I done it, or have they done it? I don't know. I think the role of a director, I think, is that horizon scanning, and is always looking for those new ideas and trying to be creative. But I think it's about providing the space for the experts that work within the team to be able to bring that themselves. And so we've done a couple of things, really. I think in terms of our retail space, I definitely inherited this. This was a new warehouse, big superstore that opened a couple of months before I joined, but has been really excited to see that grow and thrive, and that model of charity retail really develop. And we've seen people, and I think we're absolutely comfortable with this, basically copy that model right across the country now, and it's really cool to be part of an organisation that was innovative and took the risk to invest in that. It was a big risk as an organisation to spend money on a larger space. So that's been really cool. I think we've just had our Feathers from Above appeal. So that was 1,000 steel handmade feathers for people to buy in remembrance of their loved ones. And we were really blessed to have Warwick Davis, who's our patron actor that many people remember, came to open that event. And it was particularly poignant because his own wife had only died 4 weeks before. So we're really lucky to have Warwick. He's a great human. He's a fantastic patron, and that's the kind of thing that makes me really proud to be part of it. Is building those connections with all sorts of people from different walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you seen much change and turnover within the fundraising and comms team, or have you had to bring new people in the time that you've been there? What's that kind of look like?
Yeah, so we did a restructure of the marketing team late last year, and so I think the marketing team structure that had been there for quite some time. People great, couldn't fault any of the work that any people were doing, but we just needed to freshen it and make it more contemporary. I think we're living in a digital world now, aren't we? And the world is moving fast, and you've got to keep moving to keep up. I think when we work at a smaller charity like a hospice, a regional hospice, it's more challenging. We've got less resources than some of the big boys, so being able to kind of make use of all the kind of digital platforms that we can was really important. So we did a restructure there. We've tweaked a couple of roles recently, so we're just bringing in a new corporate lead role into the organisation. We've done a lot of investment in legacy over the last 2 years since I've been there, and I see that as a real opportunity. I know a lot of charities are going down that route now, but we've done some really innovative work around running our own will cafes. So we provide space for people to come into the wellbeing centres and to write their will with a solicitor who's many of them been very generous with their time across Lincolnshire, giving their time for free. That's been really popular, and I'm not sure many other places are doing that at the moment, but I think we've been doing it for nearly 2 years now, so probably cat's out of the bag a little bit on that one, so I could share that. And it's been really popular, and I think we're really excited with the direction of travel in terms of legacies. We're seeing pledges really rockers it for us, and that's really exciting, because I think in some respects it's our legacy to the hospice. It's been here for 42 years. In some respects, people making their wills with us who are supporters, who are healthy, I'm probably not going to see the fruit of that work in terms of income for our team, but we're laying the foundations for the next 40 years of the organisation to keep it sustainable, and that's one of our strategic aims, is to make the hospice grow and to be sustainable in the long run. So it's great to be able to play our part in that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said, obviously, when you joined the organisation, it was kind of on that move to a more hybrid way of working. I was just wondering about how you've instilled, the culture of the organisation and making sure that people continue to, really be driven, mission driven by the organisation, whilst not physically all being in the same building all at the same time, and that move into that new space, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways that I think, like I said, in terms of leadership style, I think I'm one of those people. I kind of want to model what I want the teams to look like, and I think that leadership style probably takes a lot longer for people to see than someone who's got a big character and very good at articulating what they want it to be. So I think it's just that modelling that culture has been really important, and I think within that learning and development, just really trying to instill that. I think we live in a world where we're really lucky because there's so much online resource. So we're a believer of really mixing it up. I think face-to-face learning and development is still really important, but there's so many opportunities online to learn and grow. We've recently done a course collectively as a leadership team in my department all together, and it's been a remote course, and we've met up with people from places like Amnesty International, right, and the Evelina Hospital, and it's been an online course. It's been really great to be part of that and to work across the sector. I think one thing that I think is a real strength of the hospice movement is we're not really in competition with one another, probably because geographically. So there's a lot of sharing that goes on across the sector in terms of what's worked, what hasn't. And we're really lucky to be part of that, and we can do that online. We can do that face to face. For me, I really want to instill that in my team, to be able to go out there and develop and learn. Because I think what we've taught through this last 30 odd minutes, that's how I've got to where I've got to, is through people providing me opportunities to have a new role in an organisation, to be coached, to go on a course. I think that's how you kind of, if you want it, you just kind of grab that opportunity and naturally you just kind of develop through it. So, it's weird. I'm kind of in a director role now, but I think it's a mixture of me grabbing the opportunities when they come, but also people giving me those opportunities to have a go. And I just think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think time and time again you see that where people come into the sector and they show the right attitude, the right approach, prepared to look. Organisations can be stretched; they roll up their sleeves, prepared to work across a whole range of different things. That organisations, that can then invest back in those individuals. And I guess we see that reflected now in your leadership in making sure that you're investing back in your team.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's kind of that learning from previous managers. I think there was a real culture, particularly at Christian Aid, that it was all right to fail. Like failure is in some respects good because you learn something, and as long as you fail and you move on and you move on to the next thing. Actually, failure was part of the culture, and I love that. I really embrace that, and I just think that's a really important part for people to be able to have a go at stuff and not feel like everyone's just going to come down on them straight away. Actually, failure could be a really positive thing for everybody. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think that's a really good barometer of an organisation as to how it responds to failure. Because there are some organisations that will be on your back, that will jump on you, that will make mass changes and not take the learnings that are from that. And then there's others like you described that Christian Aid that can learn from it. That test and learn is so important. So good. And Paul, looking ahead, and I guess what's kind of your hopes in the role there at the hospice, and kind of anything exciting on that? I'm sure there are exciting things on the horizon.
Yeah, so I think that's the golden goose of income generation, isn't it? What's the next thing? And in the horizon scan, trying to be there before everybody else. But I think for us, it's just carrying on that development of that culture. I think it's still quite new. I think within the organisation, particularly in my department, of that test and learn model. Just trying to really embed it. Just forward planning. It sounds really basic, but it's just trying to instill some of those bits of culture. And I think that the team are doing a really good job on that. I think coming up over the next year, we've got a really big project coming up at Christmas, our Light Up a Life campaign. So we're rebranding that this year. So it's not had a rebrand for 8 years. So that's really exciting. We're really looking forward to launching that. We've got a really good legacy campaign coming out featuring Warwick Davis, which we're really excited to share with the world. He's done some filming with us. So that's really exciting. That'll be coming up later this year. Hopefully I haven't said too many spoilers. I'll get my hands slapped by our head of comms and marketing after this. But there's always things. It's a really exciting time. I think charity retail is a really exciting space as well. I really shouldn't miss out on that. I think particularly in the last few years, the cost of living crisis, I think we've had a real opportunity to play a really significant part in society to both for people to be able to find affordable clothing, but it's also that sense of recycling and sustainable living. So I think we've got some plans in terms of trying to open some more bigger shops if we can find the right location. So there's always something going on.
That's right, indeed. Planning to keep you busy. So which is good to hear. Paul, so absolutely. So Paul, look, so incredibly grateful for you coming on and sharing with us and going through that career journey. It's been really great to hear about the importance of coaching and opportunities and that learning and development model as you go through. If I don't know, if you were to reflect on a piece of maybe career advice that you've been given by someone, or if you were to reflect, think about talking to your earlier self in your life and a bit of career advice that you could give. I mean, have you got something that you either say to yourself, or a piece of career advice that you've received that's just been so spot on that you've just really taken from that?
I think it's just like grab the opportunities. I think it's really interesting. Sometimes I see opportunities that other people could go for, and I think sometimes people either don't see it as an opportunity to progress their career or to progress their learning because they think it's going nowhere. And I think what I've learned in life, that whatever I've done, even the most depressing job as an antisocial behaviour officer right back in London, I look back now and I learned something, and it was an opportunity for me. And I just think just go for it. It would be my advice. I think if you're thinking about a career move into the charity sector, I would 100% recommend it. It's full of amazing, genuine people who care about the world, and that's a great sector to work in. And there's loads of opportunity out there. So go for it.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. That's been really, really helpful. And I think what we've seen is having that belief in yourself and your skills and experience, and that opportunity to learn once you're in post, and to learn from others as well, which has been really, really helpful. Paul, I'm sure there's going to be people that are listening or watching that have maybe got questions, or maybe I want to fire something at you. Are you happy if we sort of tag you up on LinkedIn when we post stuff? If people want to drop you a message, that best place to come through to you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, always happy to chat to people. Had some really interesting conversations with all sorts of people from different sectors recently about joining the charity sector. So more than happy if people want to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you want to find out more about St Barnabas Hospice, then of course stick them into Google and look at the website, and lots of
people to do a skydive or a night walk or something like that. So you're very welcome to join us. And
absolutely. Well. Yeah, no, brilliant. No, that's great. Good. Well, yeah, absolutely. Visit the website, make sure you find that, and contact through to the fundraising team. So yeah, that's brilliant. Paul, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the Charity Changemakers podcast. It's been great to share with you. And look, we'll have to again catch up at some point in the future and see how things are going.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Adam.
And that's a wrap for this week on the Charity Changemakers podcast. Remember, you can be the change you want to see in the world. We hope that this episode has inspired you to get out there and make a difference. This podcast was brought to you by Charisma Charity Recruitment, one of the UK's leading recruitment consultancies for the charity sector. Whether you're a passionate professional seeking your next challenge, or a charity searching for a top-tier talent, Charisma Charity Recruitment can help. Visit their website at charismarecruitment.co.uk to explore their latest positions and to connect your organisation with the change makers shaping the future of the non-profit world. Thanks for joining us.